Hi, and welcome back to Be Productive. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and this is the show where we talk about key strategies so that you can level up in your area of productivity. One of the things that we have to talk about on a regular basis, being business owners and leaders, is money and talking about that bottom line. So, to help with the conversation today, all about tracking and managing our expenses, is my dear friend Nora with Nourasbooks. So, Nora, welcome to the show. I
Thank,
love having you here.
thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here as well.
I always learn so much from you, and you break things down so beautifully and really help us to understand the importance of watching our bottom line so that, again, we can be successful and do it at the same time, be smart with it. So, today we're talking about tracking our expenses. Now, tracking isn't always super sexy and super fun, but it is necessary. So, talk to us a little bit. Why is detailed bookkeeping really important to us in helping us reduce expenses overall?
So the more details you have in your books, the more visionary like you will see, okay, now can I cut this expense if you ever need to cut an expense? Can I cut expenses or no? There is and this expense is necessary. If you categorize everything together as
Mm,
one expense, you won't be able to see that details that show you this is maybe we can skip for this month.
mhm,
Maybe we can um look for another vendor for this particular service or product. It's not gonna show you that details while
mhm.
when you have everything broken down as much as possible, you will
Right.
be able to make better financial decisions and more instantly instantly. So
Mhm,
you don't really have to wait to for your accountant or anyone to actually show you the details. You will
mhm.
see it in front of you in a daily basis, so you'll be able to make a decision right
Yeah.
away.
And I think that that is so important. I know for me, even sometimes it's not as detailed, but even my bank account will kind of give me specific categories. And sometimes I've been like, oh my God, I can't believe I spent that much eating out, or I spent that much on marketing. And it really helps you, again, like you said, to make higher level decisions about where you're investing your dollars so that you can invest them in the areas and get the ROI that you want. So, what are some of the best practices you work with your clients to help them make sure they're tracking their expenses correctly?
So I'm glad you mentioned the categorization in the bank account. And because I've been talking to a lot of people, prospects or clients, they say, okay, I don't need bookkeeping. I have everything categorized on my bank account. But unfortunately, that is not sufficient because what happened is, um, if you go check your bank account for the last week, you might be able to see every single thing,
Mhm.
but you will not be able to actually know what was this expense for
Yeah.
few months down the road. And this is when
Mhm.
you're gonna do actually closing the year and do your taxes. So it's going to be very difficult. So plus, imagine if you go to any grocery store and you have actually this receipt, you're buying something $5, $10, $15. It's you're not seeing the total yet. You're thinking you did not spend that much money. So, but when you see that total, you know how much you spent. So that's the difference between seeing the categorization in the bank account or in your books, because you're gonna see that categorization like eating out all
Mhm.
together, not just 50-15. You're gonna see probably you spent a
Mhm.
thousand that you did not need to spend.
Right.
So the best practice is to really have bookkeeping system in place, and I always recommend softwares in order to do that. Plus, the technology as good as the person behind it. So you need to make sure because input output, whatever you put in, you're
Mhm.
gonna get. So if you have every expense categorized by vendor and category, so you want to say, okay, this is this restaurant, this is you purchase this from Office Max, for example, you purchase this from um whatever the other vendor is, and then you see that's under what category, you will be able to actually to determine where are you spending the money from. So have the vendor always, whether you are recording this expense as an expense or you're recording it as a bill and then recording the payment. So
Yeah.
whatever you're doing here, you want to make sure to have that name.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It is so important. I love that analogy you gave at the grocery store with your receipt, your itemization, because that's again really going to give you the true information. So, talk to us a little bit now about real time expense monitoring and how that really helps with our bottom line profitability in business.
So you always a lot of business owners confuse revenue with profits. So
Mhm.
when they make, for example, $100, they think this is the money they made. Yeah, you made this money, but not really, because you still have to deduct expenses. So if you are recording every single expense as you do them, you will be able to monitor how much profit you are really making. You want to make sure you deduct everything that's going to cost you to perform that service or get that product, you including contractors, employees, anything that you need to do in order to get that end result or end product or service for your clients. You want to make sure to monitor. And if you are monitoring, so because business, if there's no sales, there's no business, of course. So you have to be always every day on a daily basis doing something, an activity that is money generating activity. So if you are selling to the next clients and you did not know that in the last client you did not make enough profit, you won't be able to correct it right away. It might take you a month if you're doing a monthly bookkeeping. It might take you longer if you're doing annual bookkeeping, right? Because a lot of people right now comes to us, okay, we need to do the cleanup for last year. Well,
Exactly. Ah, and
but
it's
too
so
late.
true. Yeah, it can spiral out of control pretty easily. And I love how you talk about the difference between revenue and profit. I know there was a time I was working with two different clients, and one, their revenue was about 700,000, and the other one, their revenue was about 550. But when we looked at the expenses, the one with the $700,000 revenue actually only netted about 125,000. Whereas the other one, because they were smarter, they actually netted about 400. So again, big difference in profitability when you add in those expenses. So Nora, thank you so much. Again, always a wealth of knowledge. But before I let you go, we've got something to celebrate with you because you just told me that you are a best-selling author with your new book. So tell us briefly, what is your new book and where can we find it?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that was a great way to start my year, 2024. I just released my new book on Amazon. It's How to Start, Manage, and Prosper with a Nonprofit. The book is available in both paperback and as a Kindle version in Amazon. So if you just search with the name, you're gonna find it. And also, you can purchase a signed copy from my website if you go to nourasbooks.com/books. You will find my book and the other book that I was part of earlier, no, not last year, the 2022. So you can purchase those books. So now this book actually is about if you are a nonprofit or thinking about starting a nonprofit, it will lay out for you like what's really need to do. What is nonprofit for you? Do you need to hire someone instead of you to actually run it and just be a board member? Or maybe you just want to support someone else. Even if you're already started, it also this works for you and will show you if you're missing anything or why are you stuck.
Amazing. Amazing. I love what you're doing. Nora, thank you so much for being here. And for all of you that are watching, I hope you really heard you've got to track those expenses. Again, don't just leave it up to the software. You know, the software is only as good as the people that are inputting it. So do it on a regular basis because it's going to give you so much and help you be productive. We'll be right back after this short break.